Hi Rambo, good luck in your Miss Earth journey. Hi Boston Limam. Yeah, in a few minutes we're starting with my interview with Miss Face of Humanity Australia. Hi Boston Liman. Thank you. My gosh, where are they? Because it's raining. Are you in Jakarta? I think the rain is so heavy, it's pouring. I'll see you, Rambo, in the Miss Earth coronation on the 29th. Let's just wait for her. Where is she? East Java. Okay, that's great. Hi, Nielsen. Where is our Miss Face of Humanity? Australia. Maddy. Okay. Where's Maddy? And hi, Carrie Jade, our Miss Face of Humanity USA. You've always been supportive of your fellow candidates. Okay, I think she's here. Hello. Oh, can you hear me?
Can you see me okay?
Okay, yes, now. Okay. Hi, Maddy. I'm so excited to talk to you. Okay, before
Nice
we
to meet
start,
you.
yeah, before we start, I would
Yeah.
like to say hi to to Carrie Jade, our Miss Face of Humanity USA. She's watching right now. Okay.
Hi,
Uh,
Claire.
okay, so many friends who are here and interested to know more about you. Okay, so can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start, Maddie. Uh, you were just crowned, okay? You were just chosen as the Miss Face of Humanity Australia. What takes it so long? I mean, what happened? Could you please tell us what really
Mm.
happened? Because you know our Miss Face of Humanity sisters have been assuming the title for years now. And how about you? Could you please share it to us?
Yeah, of course. So basically, I have a friend. He told me to apply. I applied. I really liked Veronica, and then I was accepted.
Oh, okay. So when was
Very
this? When was this? When did you apply?
Quite recently, actually, and she was looking for the right kind of person, and we just kind of aligned very well as people. And she was just like, "I want you to represent the brand."
Yeah, it's a good fit, no? I mean, actually, when I saw your photos also, I instantly felt that, okay, she is a perfect choice to represent Australia. Okay, would you mind to tell how old are you now?
I'm 25. Yeah,
20.
old. In pageant years old.
No, no, no. It's a good age, and it's still young, you know. Now, Maddie, could you please tell something about your background, your education, about your family, and we're
Yay.
more than willing to listen and to know about that.
Yeah, so I have 3 startups. So I have a jewelry and lingerie brand. I have a styling company where I dress people, and I have an academy training models, which is actually how I met Veronica. My business partner knows her. As for my work, I'm a youth worker by trade, and I now work as an executive at a marketing agency. So I've always worked very closely with charity and always very closely with different people in that kind of realm. So my brand is around sustainability and being eco-friendly.
Okay. Oh, that's why you're so fashionable. No, when I was looking at your post, no, amazing gowns that you are wearing. Okay.
Definitely from the Philippines, always. The best gowns from the Philippines, always.
Okay. So now when Miss Veronica talked to you and offered you to be the Miss Face of Humanity Australia, you said you instantly got connected and you
Yeah.
think you were aligned in terms of, you know, your focus and your objective, no? What is the advocacy that you would want to pursue and to promote for Miss Face of Humanity?
So my advocacy is called hashtag It's Okay to Be Me. Basically, it's around changing the way that people perceive mental health. And rather than focusing on the negatives that are going on around in the world, I believe that media in general it's 100% focused on the negative narrative. So when you change the way that you look at yourself and you change the way that you look at the narrative of your life and you start to focus on the positives, the negatives aren't no longer an issue. And as a result, you can become a much more positive, happy human that's less sad. And I believe that if we all focus on each other's positives and bring each other up as a society or even as a world, we can all be a much happier, healthier place supporting each other. Because for me, and I don't know if it's the same all over the world, but in Australia, 80% of people are overdiagnosed with ADHD. And that is a massive number of people to be on all sorts of different medication. And in Australia, people assume, okay, there's a problem. Maybe she's had a bad day. Maybe she's had a bad month. Maybe she's had a bad year. Let's put her on drugs. And as a result, there's a lot of people now that are overly medicated that don't need to be. And I think that if you change the narrative and if you change the way that people look at it, it's no longer the big issue there. The bigger picture is life. The bigger picture is the positivity of life. We all have bad days and bad moments, but I think that it's learning how to reflect on those and learn from those. At the end of the day, you're a product of your reaction to your experiences. And I
Wow.
believe in learning from every experience.
Wow,
So
it's
that's
amazing. You know what,
my
Maddie? It's so amazing, no? Because, by the way, Carrie Jade has been very generous in, you know, complimenting you. And all. She's always been very, you know, very generous of her, you know, love. Okay. So Maddie, the issue on mental health is actually not only a problem that exists in Australia, right? It's global. It happens
Global.
everywhere. And it
Yeah.
doesn't, yeah, and it's not about teenagers only, even adults, they suffer from mental health. And that is a very, you know, is a very timely and a very good advocacy for you to pursue. Because, of course, we want to cascade your advocacy all over the world, across all nations, right? Mm-mm. So that's amazing. Yeah, let's talk about the, I mean, you said you put up a certain organization or a certain group that address to that. But how is it? What is the composition of this? Do you employ psychologists or some people who could help you out and all those stuff?
So that's in regards to my brand. So my brand is called Soul Work & Co. Basically, I've designed lingerie that are the colors of chakras so that you can have a personal connection to what you're doing and therefore what you're wearing. So if you're feeling a little bit unbalanced, you wear red for your base chakra to ground you. If you want to be a little bit more motivated and think outside the box, you wear your purple for your crown chakra. If you're going for a job interview and you want to communicate, you wear blue for your throat chakra.
Mm.
So depending on what you're feeling at each different moment, you wear a different color lingerie so it's close to your heart so that you can kind of interact with what you're wearing from a personal sense. It's all down to the placebo effect. So it's all sustainable and environmentally friendly. And then I've also created a line of jewelry that goes with the lingerie as well. So it will be similar to Victoria's Secret style, but it's eco-friendly and customized.
Wow, okay. Both of you are Gemini. Carrie Jade and I are Gemini. Okay, now so interesting because Maddie, Australia is not a third world country, right? That's why. But of course, what is your view on poverty? I mean, what is the situation in Australia? Are there people who belong to the lower spectrum of society? Because it's a first world country, of course, right? So it's not clearly felt, or we've not seen those, at least in the news, unlike with some Southeast or some Asian countries, right, and African countries. So what is the situation of poverty in Australia?
I think the main situation of poverty is usually homelessness. And that's something that's very visual and very, it's all everywhere all the time. I think that's the most visual representation of it that we see. When it comes to poverty as well, a lot of children and a lot of families do suffer. There is also a lot of government rebates, but there's also a cycle of abuse, a cycle of mental health, and a cycle of self-medication that usually also correlates with alcoholism and other things. So even if there are situations where people might be in poverty or they might be getting subsidized by the government, there is also a cycle of abuse that happens. And sometimes people don't get the adequate finances required to go to the right place. I think also there's a big issue that people don't necessarily talk about, and that's the Indigenous in Australia and what kind of went on there. Every country obviously has their pitfalls and their downfalls. As for the Indigenous, there's basically a generational cycle where people don't go through high school and they live off of money from the government and they just continue that cycle. So that's a really big issue that is perpetuating and very visual as well, but at the same time people don't speak about it. And what's correlated as a result is that there's a whole generation of Indigenous people that white Australians like myself, for lack of a better term, don't know much about. And the only reason that I'm informed on it is because I ran a centre for the Indigenous when I was 18. But there are a lot of people that would ask me, what are they like they're aliens, or are they horrible people? Is it okay? Why are you working with them? And it's such a strange dynamic. And I'm like, they're children. If they fall over and they bleed just like anyone else. They're still humans, they're still people, they still deserve the same respect. But there is a systemic issue where it goes from the grandparents all the way down to the children, where there is a very low percentage of people that are going to university or having a career or even making money at all. So there's a cycle of abuse in that as well.
Okay, my gosh, that's interesting. No, I never knew that there is such situation that exists. No, in Australia, knowing it's a first world country. That's amazing to know, and I'm very sure a lot of people we'll learn something from this, interview, no? A lot from Australia. And, Maddie, although you are pushing for mental health, some other advocacies will definitely come in along the way, right? Because once you promote mental health, definitely you are actually promoting education, training, and helping out, and I mean a lot, no? So I am interested to know your thoughts on different issues that happen in the world. Like first, let's talk about this pandemic. Okay, you are considered a pandemic beauty because you're crowned in the pandemic era. Now, what were the things that have changed in your life and in your plans during this pandemic?
So pre-pandemic, I was going from beauty pageant to beauty pageant, and I traveled the world for free. And it was amazing. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What career am I going to have? How am I actually going to set myself up? Because it's been a long time that I've not really thought about it. I studied it, but I didn't really use it. And I was very lucky to be able to travel to the degree that I did. And so the first lockdown, I started 2 businesses. And then I wasn't okay. And then the second lockdown hit. I started another business, ran a pageant a couple of weeks before, and was offered a job in IT sales. And I was like, sure, why not? And I became very, very good at it. And now I was offered a job about 6 weeks ago now, and I'm an executive of a marketing agency, and they've basically built half of the company around me and my skill set of being able to talk and communicate. So I think for me, the pandemic was the best thing that could have ever happened in terms of my career, because the amount of growth and the amount that I've been able to achieve by staying in Australia and having to put down grassroots and go, okay, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Has been crazy. Obviously, there is a lot in terms of the issues that come with it, and being stuck at home that's not exactly very nice. But like I said before, you're a product of your reactions to your experiences. And I believe that this pandemic for me has been a massive wake-up call to be able to actually become a better person.
Yeah, I agree. And there is a very interesting question from our Miss Face of Humanity USA. Let's try to read it. What is your perspective on the COVID concentration camps in Australia? The media is horrible at relaying global information here in the US.
Okay, so there are no concentration camps, first of all. When you get COVID, you get put into a hotel, and you isolate in that hotel for 2 weeks, and that's about it. But as for the food is very average, but it's nothing spectacular. But yeah, you're in a hotel. If you get COVID and you don't want to stay in a hotel, then you just stay at home and isolate at home. There are camps in terms of where asylum seekers go, and jails and that. Obviously, that's just an issue that society has. And as a result, COVID did spread around the jail system and the concentration camp quite heavily. But no, there are no concentration or COVID camps in Australia.
Okay. So, does that mean that the media is just, magnifying the issue, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, but to be fair though, in Australia, everything was so restrictive for so long. The World Health Organization basically put out a statement that it's against human rights because we were in lockdown for, it was like 4 or 5 months. So because of that, I think there was a lot of news that kind of spread around the world. There was one area of Sydney, in Blacktown specifically, and they had drones flying around telling you to go home. If you were out past 9 o'clock, you couldn't leave your area, you shouldn't leave your house, you could only go food shopping, and that's it. But
Mhm.
at the same time, I think we also had it very lucky because even though we weren't allowed to do very much and the fines were very hefty, we were all at home or in a hotel. So yeah,
Okay.
that's
So
very
that's similar to what's going on in other countries. So, but I think Carrie Jade would like to emphasize that how that is how the media in the U.S. term it concentration camps, which is for of course for us. I mean for other people definitely it's a horrifying term, no, because we could associate it to World War scenario, no? Concentration camps. So I think it's the same thing, no, that happens. Now, with regards to vaccination, I have so many friends in Australia who are actually against being vaccinated, but they don't have a choice because they couldn't land a job. They couldn't continue their job if they wouldn't have the vaccines and all those stuff. No, what is your view about it? And how would you encourage fellow Australians and everybody around the world who are actually against it?
My view on the vaccination is up there with politics, religion, intimacy, and all other things kind of that degree. What people decide is best for them and their bodies is their choice. And I don't agree to be restricted from where you go, but I also understand the other side of the narrative is if everyone didn't get vaccinated, the hospitals would be absolutely chockers and full. So I think my view on it is both 50-50, and I'm kind of in the middle where I understand both perspectives. I empathize with both perspectives, but I don't necessarily have one way or the other that I think. I'm able to understand both views.
Mhm.
So I don't really have enough of an opinion to be able to. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Kind of.
amazing, no, and it aligns also with what Carrie Jade has been, thinking as well. It's so amazing, though. This is a very interesting discussion, a very intelligent discussion. I am having with you, Miss Face of Humanity Australia. That's amazing, and a lot of people are learning from this. And now, how about your views on, as a face of humanity, definitely you will be confronted with many issues all over the world. And you, as face of humanity, you are being looked up to as the voice and the face, of humanity. What's your view on same-sex marriage?
I am all for it. 100% all for it. Same as before. What doesn't hurt anybody else, and everyone's open to their own opinions. There are so many children out there, and I would always have this conversation with the lady that I worked in the youth centre with, because they don't actually allow same-sex couples to adopt, which I also think is incredibly wrong. And I believe that if there are so many children out there that have different sex parents, yet are so malnourished and abused and ill-treated. And that's not to say that the percentage of people that have same-sex parents would be better treated, but I believe that if they were allowed to take on extra children, there are so many children in the world that haven't been adopted, that end up in the foster care system and that end up being mistreated. And if same-sex marriage can allow for more people out there and more parents to have children and to be blessed with that, then I'm even more all for it. But I don't believe anybody has the right to tell anybody else what they should do. And we all have the right to freedom and free speech and free choices, though that freedom is almost slightly limited because, there are things you could end up in jail for saying and doing and attempting. But I don't believe that it's an issue that
Yeah.
it would harm anyone.
Yeah, that's good. No, I mean, at least it's interesting to know your views about that because you have some Face of Humanity sisters who are actually very hesitant to address this issue, especially those who come from countries where LGBT community communities are not actually accepted or tolerated or embraced. So at least this is interesting to know, no? Now,
It is very,
Maddie, yeah.
yeah.
Maddie, you come from an English-speaking country. Australia is one of the English-speaking countries that we have in the world. But do you think it's necessary for a Miss Face of Humanity to be fluent in the use of the English language?
I think it depends what language the pageant is being held in and what the predominant language is. There are different pageants being held in different countries, but interpreters are always flown in and available. So I think it depends on what that person is trying to achieve and who that person is trying to speak to. Because if you're going in a country, say Venezuela, and you win a title in that country and then you go to work with people in your country and you don't speak Spanish, that's just an absolute waste, because that's got nothing to do with what you're doing and what you're trying to create. So I think it depends on the system and what they want to do with their people and who they want their people to be around. As for the European tour and the fact that obviously the winner will go through Europe, it's going to be an added expense for the international system to have a translator come and put on that service. But I still believe that if the person is the right fit, then that is something that
Okay. Okay. Now, may I know your thoughts on, you know, uh, teenage marriage, or I mean premarital sex, and what do you call this, abortion?
That's a big topic. That is
Yes.
a very loaded question. I think for me, it always comes down to personal choice. If we all have free will, as years go by, we're all growing up earlier. As time goes on, there's more preservatives in food, and people are reaching an age where they're able to give consent a lot earlier. That doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with teenage sex, but that doesn't also mean that I have an opinion that would change that fact.
Yeah, that's
Whether
true.
I agree with it or not, it's not going to change what happens to anyone in their future. As for abortion, there are so many situations where it's absolutely necessary. If somebody can't care for a child and have the finances or is in the right situation, or if somebody was sexually abused or raped. And I don't think that bringing a child into the world, if you're not ready to, through a moment like that, is the right thing for the child. But I also believe in adoption, like I said before, and, fostering children. And for me, I always wanted to adopt children instead of having my own, just for my own personal reasons. But I don't think it's really possible to have an opinion or to tell somebody else what they should do with their body. And I think that's entirely wrong to do that.
Okay, let's talk about, the power of social media, okay, internet and all like that. So how would you use your social media platform to promote your advocacy?
Well, I use the campaign hashtag It's Okay to Be Me, and I use that as my campaign, and I try to get as many women as possible involved within that hashtag to kind of create it and make it bigger and have that conversation. And I think that that's incredibly important. So yeah, that's very much how I would do it.
Okay, I mean, your posts are very inspiring. I mean, the mere presence, the mere sight of your beautiful face and smile is enough, actually, a reason for everybody to be inspired. No, looking at your Instagram. But have you encountered, an internet basher, someone who comments negatively, and how did you confront that, or how did you handle that?
All the time. But do you know what's worse than people on the internet? People that do it in person. That is worse. And for me, it's something that I get all the time, because society thinks if you look like this, you don't have a brain. And so as a result, a lot of the time I need to overwork and overachieve to be able to prove that I am someone of somewhat intellect. Not saying I'm the smartest person in the world, but, you know, obviously I have opinions and views and thoughts on lots of different things. But I also think that there is a time to learn and a time to educate. And that's obviously when you're educated on a topic.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's about very much about proving your worth, but you can also use that to the opposite narrative to be able to help you as well.
Okay. So you are already considered somehow successful. You have your own brand of clothing, and you know, somehow you're successful. You are considered a successful woman, right? Plus with your Miss Face of Humanity title on your sleeves right now, definitely you are one of the, you know, successful women that we could see around. Will you marry a man who is less successful than you are?
I have always said if I marry somebody, that they had better be as driven as I am, and they can clean toilets, but they had better want to be the best toilet cleaner there had ever been, who dreams of having their own cleaning business. And that's how I see it, because I think for me the most important thing is to find somebody who's as driven and as motivated as I am.
What if the man that you love has a different religious belief? How will you handle that?
I think it all comes down to understanding and love is the most powerful emotion of all. So I don't really necessarily think it would matter to me.
Amazing. Okay, so going back to your advocacy, no, mental health, no, do you think this is the major problem that confronts young people in Australia?
Massive, huge problem. People are always talking about it. It's a massive issue. But I think at the end of the day, people are like onions, right? On the inside is on the problem, and on the outside is all the layers, all the self-medication, all of the bad thoughts and emotions that have been built up as a result. So I think as a society, Australia just throws medication at that issue instead of peeling the layers back one by one and going, why are you feeling this way? What is the problem? How can we handle it? How can we deal with it? How can we talk through it? How can we help you find better ways of dealing with these emotions? And that's why I usually use this as an advocacy, because for me, I think it's an issue that Australia has as a whole, where we just don't deal with the problem. And that's also what comes down to the same with the Indigenous. Instead of dealing with the problem, instead of talking about the issue, instead of trying to break the cycle and going, how can we educate? How can we inform? How can we make it a better environment for everyone so that we can all find a way of assimilating into each other's views, opinions, worlds, and societies to some degree? So that we can all be on the same page. Australia just goes, no, we're going to throw money at that issue. So that's another thing that I think Australia as a whole doesn't deal with a lot of the issues at play. They just try to find the easy way out. So I think that's probably the biggest issue with mental health.
Does bullying, is bullying one of the major problems also of teenagers nowadays in Australian culture?
There's also a lot of cyberbullying that goes on as well. So a lot of online bullying, a lot of like images being sent around. That's probably the biggest.
Okay. Considering that you've been crowned a bit late, no, as compared to the other sisters that you have, it's December, and this coming April, it will be the Miss Face of Humanity Global Showcase already. It's like the coronation. So with the given short amount of time, how do you intend to promote your Miss Face of Humanity platform, and how are you going to, let your followers and the whole of Australia know and support about your cause?
I think that's a hard question. I think the best way will be to start on social media to start talking about my brand, my advocacy, what I'm trying to create. And then from there, try to breach it out into media if at all possible. Media in Australia, especially when it comes to pageantry, is non-existent. In Australia, if you talk about pageantry, there's only two things people say: toddlers and tiaras or Miss Congeniality. And that is the only thing people know. Sometimes you'll get the rare person that will be like, oh, like Miss Universe. And you're like, wait, you're on the same page as me.
Yeah.
We're on the same book now instead of
it's very interesting to know that in Australia, the pageant lovers are actually not that strong as compared to other Asian countries, right? So sometimes. Yeah, so that's why I asked you that question. How do you intend to promote the Miss Face of Humanity in Australia, and how will you create so much awareness so that people will support you, right? So it's difficult.
It's very hard.
Yeah, but it's a good thing you have a very supportive local organization there, the Miss Face of Humanity Australia. I'm very sure they will provide you everything that you need for you to be able to prepare. So have you communicated now with your fellow sisters? Because I believe you have a WhatsApp group or something.
Yeah, we have an Instagram group. It's very cute. I love it.
Yeah, so everybody was actually, excited prior to your official announcement. Okay, and how does it feel, no? Maddy, based on all the queens that I've talked in Miss Face of Humanity, everybody is so passionate about the respective advocacies. Everybody is actually very genuine. Everybody wants to really make their advocacies work, and they're not really actually after the crown and the title, no, but they want to help each other. And I'm so glad that you become part of this set of girls, no, who are very passionate to change, the world through your causes. No, how does it feel to be in that kind of league of women, empowered women?
If I'm being completely honest, I think this is the first system that I've been a part of that has a sisterhood like this, where everybody is supporting each other and the entire organization seems to be run flawlessly. And I'm actually feeling really blessed and really lucky to be a part of it. Very much so.
Actually, I think you know someone personally, Miles Eagle. Hi, Maddy, it's Miles. Do you want to greet her?
Hi, Miles.
Okay, so in terms of preparation, I mean, when it was offered to you, right, the title, did you have any fear or doubt that, oh my gosh, it's very near, and then what kind of preparation should I do, and all those stuff? No, I mean, what were the things running in your mind?
I think for me, I was just grateful. I've done a couple of pageants here and there. I feel like I'm at a point now where I'm pretty content to just pick it up and go, and be okay. So I think I'm feeling just very blessed, very grateful to be part of such a beautiful organization, because this particular one seems to be run flawlessly, and I've enjoyed every moment so far. Though they are fleeting.
Yeah. And what I noticed also about the Miss Face of Humanity is that the people who are supporting it are actually very positive people. Even the
Yeah,
fans, no, even the fans, even the supporters, the followers. I mean, it's not so toxic, and that's why
yeah,
I truly enjoy. That's why I truly enjoy interviewing all the girls and supporting the Miss Face of Humanity because of that. You know, I've been everything is smooth, everything is down, everybody's down to earth, even the matter organization. So I think they are living up to what this face of humanity should stand for, right? And yeah, that's why I personally, when I saw that, oh my gosh, finally Australia will have their queen. So I got so excited, and I personally know also Miss Veronica. She is very passionate also about this. So you are very lucky. Okay,
I'm so
so
lucky. I adore her. She's the best.
yeah.
She's such an incredible, incredible person to work with.
Mhm. So right now, do you have a particular team that because you mentioned you've been to different pageants before? Could you please share something about that?
Um, so I've done Miss Interglobal.
Mhm.
That one just recently finished. I've done Miss Tourism Ambassador, which I won Miss Oceania. I've done Miss Tourism Global City. I won Miss Oceania. I did Miss Tourism of the Globe. I won Miss Oceania. I did Miss Friendship, and I did Royal International Miss. And I think that's it.
Okay, so that means to say you are not actually new in this kind of competition, and you've been winning. You've been winning titles and awards. No, that's amazing to know. So, uh, so in terms of how you're going to carry yourself on stage and how you go about it, I think it's no longer a problem. No, I think the number one focus that you need to do right now is how to promote well your advocacy, right? Okay, so on a personal note, Maddie, do you have brothers and sisters? Do you have siblings?
I have a brother,
Okay, older or younger?
younger.
Ah, younger. How old?
Yeah, he's 22 now. What about
Okay.
you? Do you have siblings?
Huh?
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, a lot.
How many?
Around seven. No, because I'm from the Philippines, and the culture in the Philippines is that you could give birth as many as I mean, the more the merrier. No, I mean,
Speaking of the Philippines, I've done a little bit of research, and I know there's like a generational thing with the children there where they don't have dads, and it's like mums, and it's a whole generational thing. Is that something that you see a lot?
I think we're starting to become a bit westernized. No, I mean, we're starting to change our perspective, but the culture is still preserved. We don't send our elders to home for the aged, things like that. No, I mean, uh, we
My
still keep
battery's on
them.
5%.
Okay. So, but anyway, I think we can wrap it up, no? So, there is this fan vote that the Miss Face of Humanity is doing on a weekly basis, and if you will make it in the top two or top three, automatically you will be in the top 15. So, how are you going to promote that?
As best as I can. I think if I were to do well, I'd probably talk to a couple of different friends of mine. I'm actually good friends with Powie from Missisology, so I'll probably have a little chat to him. And kind of try the best that I can to do as well as possible.
Yeah, of course,
Um,
we will help you also with our friends in Australia and all like that. No? Now, because I know you were running out of, because actually I know you just requested for 30 minutes, but we go beyond 30 minutes. No? Now, I'll give you the floor now to talk to humanity, to talk to the world about your cause, about you introduce yourself to the world. Your floor is now open.
the floor is open. Well, hello everyone. I'm Maddie May and I'm your Miss Australia. I'm so excited to represent my country to the best that I possibly can. And I'm excited to represent humanity. as best that I can, and to aim to change the way that people look at mental health and the stigma around it. So yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, those who were not able to see this will definitely watch this later and in the YouTube channel in my Mr. Dudes. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Maddy. I mean, you're so generous of your time. You're so beautiful. Rest assured, we will be supporting you all throughout until the finals. And then, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm virtual applause and a virtual hug to our Miss Face of Humanity Australia, Maddy May. Thank you, Maddy. Thank you, Miss Face of Humanity Australia. Thank you, Miss Veronica. Thank you, Miss Face of Humanity Organization. We have another amazing queen, Maddy. Thank you, Maddy. And thank you to all the viewers.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Maddy. Take care. Bye.